First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner.
He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Eternal Insiders Podcast. My name is Luke, and as always, I am your host. And I'm being joined once again by Darryl Martin, here to break down another Eternal card for you. This time, of course, it was Eternal 81, the big stellar card with John Martin Fraser winning back his middleweight title against the oncoming Brogan Anderson from New Zealand. Another host of incredible fights, top to bottom down the card. As always, killer prelims, amazing main card fights there. 8 fights we were treated to on that main card, live and exclusive on UFC Fight Pass from the Southport Sharks, and we're here to talk all about it and here to talk a little bit about what's potentially to come out of that, which we can share a little bit of news of what's sort of to come. Can't share absolutely everything, but I tell you what, from what we've talked about, Darryl, with the powers that be, there's some very exciting things to come. We're going to talk about Eternal 81 to start with. You were at this Eternal 81 card. Before we talk about the fights, give us a bit of an idea of the vibe there. How was that from your perspective? You were sitting cage side with the man, Cam O'Neill himself.
Yeah, look, it was a great card. It was a great crowd. It was a great feel in there. It, like I said, it lived up to the hype in every factor that, we spoke about it before. We said there wasn't going to be a boring fight. There wasn't a boring fight. Everybody left it out there. The crowd were into it from the bell to the finish, from get-go to get finished. Where we were sitting, the seated crowd, the standing crowd, everybody, you could hear instructions coming from everywhere, people yelling, screaming, barracking for their people. It was, it was a really good atmosphere in there. It was quite good. And props to Cam. When I turned up, Cam was basically dead. He was sweating, and he'd gone home and taken some medication and come back, and he was in all sorts, and I literally thought there was no way he was going to last the card, and he managed to make it all the way through. But it was a great card. Good to be cage side. It would have been a little bit better to have a fully functioning Cam O'Neill, a little bit more excitement rather than trying to concentrate on not dying cage side. It was it was a good night though.
What a fun little detail that is. I did not know that about Cam, but I did notice at the start of the main card that we had no Cam O'Neill in terms of opening up the main card and talking about the fights. We had Blake Richardson, my apologies there, Blake Richardson, talking about the fights, who did a phenomenal job of giving a bit of his lead up into the fights there. So I'm imagining at that point, that's when Cam might have had to pop out. But props to Cam because he popped back. I mean, from the viewer from home, it didn't sort of look any different from us. So he pulled through. Maybe a little bit of Dana White, many ears disease. I've seen here Dana White leave different shows when he sort of had that playing up with his ears and that sort of thing. Maybe that's just a bit of a rub off in terms of the guys that run these promotions, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it was. But like I said, he looked, when I first ran into him, he was very pale. He was sweating. He was struggling to catch his breath. And I thought 100%. Like, if it was me, I would have bailed. I would have put someone else in charge. Blake was doing a fantastic job.
That he was.
You've got Wynn and those guys there. There's a bunch of experienced backstage crew there that have done it so many times that make it run seamlessly. Yeah, I would have exited stage left, but props to Cam. He put on the Braveheart face paint, and he stayed for the entire card, and good on him.
And pulled through. And I mean, just to be fair, I mean, we've just done back-to-back cards. We had Perth, of course, for Eternal 80 with a sellout crowd there, 3,100. Back over to the other side of the country, back on the Gold Coast for the spiritual home at Southport Sharks for Eternal 81. And we got a treat back-to-back as we did. We'll launch straight into the fights. We're going to start from the bottom here because, I mean, the main card opened with an absolute bang. Victor Lyle, you were there for this for the first fight. You weren't there for the prelims, but you got in just in time to see Victor Lyle return with the Fortitude Valley head kick to come in to open up the show. What a slugfest it was to open the card. Just an absolute war from the start. Victor got dropped in the first round. He looked puffed. He looked tired from the opening couple of minutes, but he managed to fight his way through. Absolute war as a Victor Lyle fight goes. Props to Corey Lynch. He left that fight with a broken jaw, but he's tough as nails. I mean, what a card what a way to open up that card with a bang. Just that left kick, shades of that left head kick that he had back in the Fortitude Valley streets with that viral video those years ago. Your thoughts on what you saw there?
Yeah, look, neither of those boys gave up. Like, in the end, the head kick put Corey Lynch away. But there was so many times when both of them were hit, both of them were hurt. There was no give up in either of them. Both of them were doing their very, very best at all stages to get that done. Both were tired. Both were out of the fight at certain stages, but they just kept soldiering on. You had Corey Lynch with that very proud chest, old Marcus of Queensbury rules style, which was quite good to watch. And like you said, he dropped Victor in the first round. And Victor's just, he's just never out of the fight. He really has that dog mentality. He just wants to keep going. And no doubt I think there might be a little camera angle of it. I think there was a camera next to us at the time. Cam saw Victor throw a couple of body shots, and Cam leans across to me and goes, I think he's going to throw a head kick. This is in the third round, the final sequence.
Oh, he called it.
He literally called it from cage side. And the only thing that could make it worse than that was I said to him, I don't think Victor's got one kick left in him. I think he's too tired.
And you were the one there in good health, and Cam O'Neill's dragged himself back to the cage, and he's called the head kick. Well, good on him, man. What a call.
So Cam's been ribbing me ever since, and I've been copying it since then, and rightfully so. But yeah, it was like I said, the way that they'd both of them put so much in, and both of them had taken so much damage. I don't know if you could see it on the stream, or if I think I heard him speak about it in the post-fight. But at one stage he got hit and his tooth came out in his mouth guard.
That knocked his gold tooth out, yeah. I didn't even realize he had a gold tooth, but that came out in his mouth guard, and that's what he was trying to show us at the end of the fight. He came up to the camera and he was pointing. I didn't know what he was doing, but he did talk about it in the post-fight speech, that he did lose a tooth there and sort of kept soldiering on. So, I mean, props to him. Props to both.
Yeah, well, he said he was trying to get the tooth out of the mouth guard, but it was stuck in there. But
so it's actually stuck in the mouthpiece.
It was stuck in the mouthpiece.
Okay, I couldn't tell if it was still in his mouth or not, but it was actually in the mouthpiece. Oh, man.
It had been completely dislodged and stuck in his mouthpiece. And again, this is just more testament to how tough these guys are, how hard both of these kids hit, and how good of a fight it was all around. You get dropped. You get your tooth knocked out. You're getting hit and hurt throughout that fight. You were tired. There's lots of sort of, tired punches, but the action kept going. And, it was that to and fro. And like you said, it was the perfect way to open a card. The crowd were on their feet. Everybody was yelling. It was a great fight.
I mean, the story coming in was Victor La because, obviously we know the profile and, why he's got the Instagram following that he does. I had him on the show for the Eternal Insiders podcast, and I made a point of not trying to make a point necessarily of, that incident that happened in Fortitude Valley, with those guys on the street, because I didn't want it to be about that. Obviously, you can't not talk about it because it is a theme coming in, but we wanted to talk about him as a fighter, and, he's a very interesting cat, very introspective, very deep emotional person, very spiritual person, very smart guy, and so I thought it was very interesting to sort of get his thoughts coming into the fight. Very honest, very raw with his emotions. Sort of worried me a little bit because he was coming into the fight on late notice, said that he didn't have a lot of time to prepare. He wasn't trying to fluff up his feathers and say he's going to go in there and win. He said he had no idea if he was going to win. He said he didn't even know if he'd even prepared enough for the fight. I think he was probably secretly worried coming into the fight that he might not make weight, and he said this at the end of the fight in the post-fight speech, that it was one of the most hellacious weight cuts that he's ever sort of been through. Obviously, he comes in with a massive frame. So it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward in terms of being able to get a full camp in and being able to sort of cut down a little bit. But I mean, to your point, what an absolute warrior to slug through that. And while the punches were looking tired, I mean, they still had pop on them every single time. Like, he wasn't just winging on them without any power. And I mean, just what a finish, man. And Corey Lynch, broken jaw from that head kick, but took it like an absolute champ. But what a way to open that main card. What a kick.
Yeah, and look, take nothing away from Corey Lynch. He was in that fight every step of the way. That was a great fight. And right up until that final kick, it really could have gone either way. There was no definitive winner right up until that kick. And look, I got to speak to Glenn Hodges, who was in Victor's corner. Spoke to him afterwards, and I said, look, honestly, I didn't think Victor had one more kick in him. And Glenn said, Victor's always got one more kick in him. And I think that's probably, knowing him, training with him, and just again, that dog mentality, like there's always one more kick, one more effort that Victor's willing to give to try and win the fight.
No, the strong part of his game is definitely the kicks. He was showing off some of the wheel kicks, and all the kicks were looking snappy right through the fight. And as he said in his post-fight speech, you go back and look at any of his catalogue, any of his fights, he's always in a war. He said his coaches told him to have a bit of an easy one coming to this fight, but it wasn't to be. But he was happy to put on a show for the fans. And he did tell his friends that he was going to win by head kick. He said he shared that with everybody. He's going to win this by head kick. He said coming into the third round, he didn't know if it was going to be possible because they were feeling tired, but he threw up one Hail Mary and got it done at the start of the third round to kick off our main card in absolute style. 8 fights we had on that main card. Congratulations to Victor Lyle. Can't see what comes next for him. Very exciting fighter with a big profile. We had Daniel Mitchell defeating Mizuho Matsuyama by rear naked chub. Rear naked chub. That's a new submission we got there. Rear naked choke submission. My apologies to everyone watching in the third round for a bantamweight fight there. That was a back and forward fight. I think there was calls from the commentary team of some Don Fry-esque exchanges there in the middle of the cage. Daniel Mitchell controlling a lot of the fight with his cage clinching throughout the fight, with a bit of mix of striking from both guys, had their moments in there. But ultimately, Daniel Mitchell getting the rear naked choke submission in round 3. That was a good fight. You saw it.
Yeah, no, super good fight. And again, it was good. The crowd was involved. Again, like you said, those middle of the cages exchanges where they're both just punching and punching and punching, and both were giving as good as they got. Again, it's just a really good way to start these type of cards. Like, all these fights are great, but when you can get the crowd into it from the first bell, and like I said, you see Victor's fight, then you went straight into this fight where these guys really were just, beating the hell out of each other. And again, it was a to and fro fight. Mitchell probably overall in all rounds probably just had a little bit on him, just had a little bit more. The Japanese fighter had a great pop from the crowd. He brought quite a big audience.
Sure did. They were loud, yeah.
Yeah, they're super loud. And so that's very good. And look, he fought a great fight, and there's no shame in the fight that he fought. I think, going forward, he'll probably change a few things. I think when he goes back and looks, I think there were some areas that he was doing better in, and I don't think that he really exploited those areas as much as he could have, where you definitely saw Mitchell found his home and really stuck with that game plan and pressure until he got where he wanted to be and finished the fight.
He sure did. That was his first professional win. He lost his debut back at Eternal 78 to Cooper Smith, but righted that wrong and gets himself in the win column there. For Mizuho, he falls to 1-4 as a professional now, I believe. So, I mean, as you said, might be some things that he sort of needs to change if he wants to keep fighting professionally and sort of see what he does there. But it was a nice competitive fight. I think for Daniel after the fight that he did say the plan for this one coming in was to just relax a little bit more and have fun. And he said that he managed to do that, and that was probably ultimately the catalyst for him, having the moments that he sort of did. He definitely did look relaxed and was able to do what he sort of wanted to do there. He did say he wanted to stay active, told Cam O'Neill cage side, get him back in there as soon as possible. Said for his pro debut, I think he fought on an MCL tear. I think if you heard that right, if you remember hearing that. But yeah,
I didn't hear that.
I think that's what he said after the fight, that his first fight he fought with an MCL tear, but there was no way he was pulling out of that fight. Obviously took that loss, but came into this one, got the win. Said he wants to stay active, get him back in there as soon as possible. So let's get him back in there as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, look, he's a fun fighter, and look, any fighter that wants to stay active, I think it's smart. Like, you know what I mean? These long breaks allow too many other factors to get involved in your life, whether that's going out, partying, girls, guys, whatever you're into, if you're doing rear naked chubs, whatever's happening. Whatever's happening.
The rear naked chubs are staying, yes. Yeah. I like it.
Whatever's happening in your life.
Of course.
But yeah, like I think obviously more activity, it keeps you in the scene, keeps you in the gym, keeps you training. And, obviously having a fighter who wants to stay active, that's the best thing for a promotion. And I've got no doubt in those weight classes, there's plenty of guys for him to fight. So it's, I would imagine we'll see him on the next card or two, no doubt.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing what comes next. And we had Taser Malone in the fight preceding that one. Taser Malone, a big fan favorite up there on the Gold Coast. His second professional fight, came out and got the job done. And man, I'm going to trip over these words every time I say it now. So I'm going to be so conscientious of it. But rear naked choke submission is what he finished the fight by in the second round. This fight, 66 kilo catchweight fight. Taser previously fighting at lightweight, coming down for this catchweight fight and defeating Mason Nobetsu there We know what Taser Malone is looking for a lot of the time. He's working on his striking, and that is coming up to par close with his grappling, but the grappling is where he butters his bread. He had the control time. He got that submission win, controlled the fight for most of it. Both guys did have their moments. Control time from Nobetsu as well on the ground. But ultimately, Taser Malone, too much in that win. Got the job done by that submission. Looked good. Your thoughts on Taser Malone on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, look, great fight from Taser. The guy, he just grinds. Like, he doesn't appear like he's just one of those fighters who doesn't appear to be doing a lot, but it's just doing the simple things and just continuously going back to the basics. And he continues to do that and wear you down and wear you down. And obviously his cardio, his gas tank's so high. And I was actually, for that fight, one of the guys who trains at Shindo come and sat next to me and Cam at that fight. And he was saying how big Taser's gas tank was back in the day when he was at Shindo before he moved over to CMBT, and talked about him doing barefoot marathons and all sorts of things. So,
Committed.
you know, and you could really see that. Like, he literally just kept doing the basics, going back to the basics, kept pressure. And it really did. Where Nobetsu, is that how I say it?
Mason Nobetsu. Yep.
Really wore him down. And look, if you guys want to go back to the very start of that fight, if anyone wants to watch it, go back and have a look at the first head kick that Nobetsu threw. It missed Taser by half a bee's dick. There was nothing. There was nothing in it. And like, the wind off it nearly opened the cage door again. He pegged that head kick at, and when I first saw that, because, I'd heard that he had a bit of a karate style and he had some good kicks, and there really was some heavy kicks and punches thrown. And again, it's just that, that Taser style, just that hands up, inch by inch, he just walks you down, tracks you down, just starts putting that pressure on you. And just how much have you got? How much can you keep up with him? His style, the grapple, the wrestle, the strikes, the everything. And look, Nobetsu looked great in that he threw a lot of feints, really tried to bury his attacks and stuff. But again, it really, what's this word? Like, it really shows what a good game plan of basics can do for you when you're out there. Just keep doing the basics, go back to the basics, and keep running your game plan until the guy breaks. And I think that's what happened in the end. He broke him with a pace and just the basics, and eventually got where he wanted to get. And I think in future too, if we're going to have Brenton Mumford corner someone, we need to have a camera on Brenton, because Brenton also fights that fight. Like,
of course he does.
I watched Brenton nearly as much as I watched that fight. It was
he's a presence.
Entertaining. Yeah, to see him, how animated he was. He was, he was posturing. The hands were going. He was yelling instructions.
He's living that fight. He's living vicariously through his student. Yep.
Yeah, he really, and look, obviously I could hear some of Brenton's instructions, and I was sort of thinking internally the same thing. Just that final sequence when he kept trying to get the hand behind the head to finish the rear naked choke. Obviously, with the gloves and stuff, it makes it more difficult than when, if you're just a jiu-jitsu without. And he was having trouble getting it, and Nobetsu was fighting that top hand, and I could hear Brenton screaming for him to go palm to palm, because the arm was under the neck. It was deep. It was all the way back over the shoulder. But Taser in the end got the choke, got it done. But if anyone gets a chance again to go back and watch that, spend them time watching Brenton Mumford in the corner. Like I said, it's like watching another fight. He's so animated and he's so into it. And I think too, like, your fighter in the ring feels that, like, he can feel that coming from Brenton. Brenton's pushing energy into the ring. He's not letting you rest for a second. He's wanting more and more and more from you. And, like I said, he came and gave Cam a hug afterwards. Brenton did. And yeah, like I said, he was sweating like a fighter would sweat.
He's feeling it.
He was. But back inside the cage, like, Nobetsu fought a great fight. Just on the night, Taser was just better. And look, I think now we need to start looking at where Taser's going to go. He's very good. He's talented. He's getting better every fight. The next fight for him's like I think is a hard one for the matchmakers. Who do you give him? Because he's very good. You don't want to push him too high too quick, but I think he could definitely handle a jump in competition. But yeah, the next fight's a difficult one to place him into.
Still very young, and I mean, fought at lightweight, and then this one was a catch weight at 66 kilos. So, I think there was that talk about, where does he sort of go from here? Is he trying to make that drop down to featherweight and, utilize that sort of as another advantage for him? But, like on that finish, I mean, he almost had that rear naked choke. I mean, it was so deep, it looked like from inside the living room. That first one looked deep. I'm surprised that Nabetsu managed to get out of that. But I mean, once Taser had him on the ground in that second round, he wasn't getting back up. And just like you said, just the little things and just sort of grind out what he sort of needed to do. Not in spectacular fashion, but just overwhelm his opponent too much and eventually re-sunk in that rear naked choke and got the win there. And I mean, it's a testament to even like how Taser lives his life. I've spoken to him previously, not on the podcast, but just sort of doing a bit of an introduction article for Taser before his first pro fight that he had. And I mean, he was living out of his van outside of the gym. Like, he's all in on this sport. He's so dedicated to it. I mean, a natural athlete. I think he was at the height from my memory from his conversation, was close to professional football, so naturally gifted talents and that sort of thing. And that reflects in what he sort of does inside the cage. So, if he combines that with his skills and the fact that he can combine that with his athleticism and those natural gifts he's got, and we'll see what sort of comes for him, what his next opponent might be and what his weight class will be. Very interesting, but started off his career in the right way, 2 professional fights. So let's see what comes with Taser Malone. But all around, great guy, hell of an athlete, super dedicated, and those are the guys that you want to see get more fights.
I'm just not sure, because like you said, Taser is a very interesting character, and I like those kind of eccentric guys. What was the laying down in the ring thing about? I couldn't hear.
Yeah.
Did you hear what happened there?
He just wanted everyone to sort of soak in that moment. I think that was just the way I kind of took it, is that it was sort of a culmination of, the build up to the fight, getting the fight done, and then just him sort of drinking it all in. But you're right, interesting cat, very pensive type guy. So yeah, look, I didn't know what was sort of going on there to sort of start with, but that's what I sort of took from it. Just wanted to kind of soak in the moment, hometown crowd in the Gold Coast. So I'm sure he was just wanting to enjoy it with everybody. But yeah, that was a fun little moment. Would have been strange for you, cage side, if you didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't really hear it terribly well. And I just speaking to Cam a little bit, and we both looked up, and Taser was laying in the middle of the cage, and we sort of like, what just happened?
Is he okay? Yeah.
What has happened here?
Yeah.
But he hopped back up, and look, again, he's a guy who's sort of, he's a very fit guy. Like you said, he played high level footy. He's an athlete at heart, and look, we all want to see more of him, and hopefully he too stays active and we can get him another fight.
100%. No, he said he's coming for very big things in 2024. So stay tuned for Taser Malone. We'll see what comes for him next. Very exciting things in his future. We move on to Luke Daly defeating Kobe Porter in a very technical fight. Decision win for Luke Daly, round 3. But I mean, this is where things really kicked off in terms of high level striking. Kobe Porter falls to 3-3 as a professional. But I mean, just off the top, for me, Kobe Porter is just so much better than a 3-3 professional fighter. I mean, Luke Daly, while it was a close fight, I think to most people, he was a sort of ahead for those first couple of rounds, and Kobe sort of had to pull something out in the end there. But I mean, Luke Daly out of Infinite MMA in Ballarat, same gym from Harry Webb. Harry Webb back at Eternal 75, another very impressive debut. One of the fighters to watch for sure is Harry Webb. Looking forward to seeing him back on Eternal if he comes up. Back up this way out of Victoria, from where I'm sort of from. Luke Daly looked fantastic. But what a great fight. What a high-level technical fight that was from a striking perspective. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I'd love to hear you sort of talk about it. 'Cause this is really when business picked up. Luke Daly defeats Kobe Porter via decision.
Yeah, look, it's one of those fights where you either love them or you hate them. And for me, I love that.
I loved it. I loved it.
I like the fact that both boys didn't spend the whole time headhunting. There was headshots, body shots, leg kicks. There was cage transitions, wrestling transitions. There was jiu-jitsu. There was escapes. There was near rear naked chokes. There was, you know what I mean? And we really saw the plethora of MMA in its entirety throughout that fight. Like, there wasn't a part of the MMA game that you didn't get to see at a high level.
From both guys.
And,
yeah,
it was fantastic. And, Luke Daly's back control against the cage there was fantastic. And he dragged Kobe Porter down a few times, and I thought, hey, this might be it. But Kobe's just, he's almost impossible to finish. He just always has a hand in. He always has, a chin tucked or something, or shoulders raised. He always just seems to be doing enough to keep himself out of trouble. And of course, there was those moments where he shucked Luke off the back, and then he was able to rain down some strikes. And again, a back and forth technical battle. Again, it's 3 kilos above Kobe, and I'm not sure. I don't know if we ever established why we were doing a catch weight. Whether
I don't know either. Yeah.
Whether it was both of them agreed to take a fight at catch weight because they both wanted to stay active, and neither of them were going to make 70. I'm not sure, but just looking at Luke Daly, he looked
big, didn't he?
And not just that. Now, Luke, don't hate me here. Don't hate me.
Uh-oh.
I'm not body shaming. But if you have a look at him when he was in the cage, he had quite distinctive stretch marks around his hips and around his stomach. So I would suggest from stretch marks that are so pronounced, at some stage he was quite a bigger boy.
Sure.
And I'm starting to wonder if because he has that country footy feel to him, the way he was in the ring, the look of him, he's got that real country footy player. And I wonder if he's got a little bit of that Volkanovski, where he was a much bigger guy and he's come down and, he's managed to keep a lot of the strength.
That'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I spoke to Kobe Porter after the fight, and I said, look, just from cage side, he looked really strong. And Kobe said he felt strong.
Yeah. He
felt really, really strong. And look, I'm sure a bit of that's that, out Ballarat, they're country kids. They don't mind the fight out there. He's probably been fighting since he was 5 years old. And, like I said, he looked like at some stage he was a bigger kid. But, of course, he's lost weight. He looks fit, and he did a great job in that fight. And, his composure in there, he didn't seem to wince, smile, do anything. It seemed to be a very deadpan stare right down the pipe the whole time. And his composure, Daly's composure, was fantastic in the ring.
It certainly was. And before we finish off on Luke, because a hell of a performance from him, I just want to get your thoughts on Kobe Porter, because I think we spoke about Kobe, the last time we did the show, and what his future looks like. Himself as well, still at his 23. 3-3 as a professional now, and I mean, he looks like a true lightweight. I mean, you talk about Luke's body and everything, and what he looks like in terms of his size and sort of coming down. I mean, Kobe, chiseled guy, athletic, got the tools and that sort of thing. He's fighting high level guys every time he gets in there, and he's having those wars. I mean, he was coming off a highlight reel knockout win in his last fight back at Eternal 70 something. Can't remember exactly the card it was, but he's looked fantastic in pretty much all his fights, and he's had close fights. So it'd be really interesting to see where he sort of goes from here. But I mean, like I said, Kobe to me seems like the kind of guy that does look better than being a 3-3 fighter. I think there's plenty more wins in Kobe Porter's future.
Oh, look, no doubt. And I was able to speak to Adrian Pang, which is Kobe's coach from up there at Integrated MMA. And look, anyone who knows Adrian's not big on handing out compliments left and right. He's a very reserved gentleman. He's a very quiet kind of kid. He doesn't say more than he has to. And he had a lot of props for Kobe, which sort of shows the effort and the dedication that Kobe obviously puts in while he's training. And Adrian thinks there's a lot more to come from him. And it'll be a good space to watch. But I'm the same as you. I think Kobe Porter is better than a 3-3 fighter. I think people were underestimating him, see the record, but when you see the guys he fights, the people who the fights he's had, not just like the high caliber, but the actual fights are tough, gritty, grueling fights. And look, the great thing about MMA is it's not shit like boxing, where if you have one loss, it could, or two losses, that could mean, where they really, really try to pick opponents on their way to the top to keep that zero, or, if they've had one loss, they really want to protect it so they don't have any more than one loss. Where MMA, look, you see Charles Oliveira had a bunch of losses. You see all these guys who've had losses and reach the pinnacle of the sport and get to fight for a belt. That's just something, unfortunately, boxing isn't doing and other sports aren't doing. Well, that's not true. Muay Thai, I think, has always had a lineage of, wins, losses, and as long as you're good enough and you can put a run on, you can fight for a title. But boxing obviously is something I think they really need to address in their sport and let people forget about their let people forget about one loss and go out there and, fight the tough fights, fight the exciting fights, like Kobe Porter's doing. He's fighting the tough fights, fighting the exciting fights, and having a 3-3 record doesn't mean that in 3 or 4 fights' time he could be fighting for a belt regardless of those 3 previous losses.
100%. I mean, you don't have to mention guys like Dalla Maddalena. We know how he started his career, as an 0-2 fighter and came back from there. All doing this, through Eternal MMA. I mean, you get your tutelage as an amateur fighter. I mean, you're fighting on Eternal MMA and you're fighting the best guys, and that's a testament to the matchups that Cam and Ben and everyone put on. So we get the benefit of that show. But I mean, these guys get the benefit of even early in their professional career. I mean, they're fighting the best guys sort of in their weight class. So they're sort of growing through that. And obviously Jack's in the UFC now and he started off his career that way. Kobe, I'm sure isn't taking, I'm sure he's down, but I mean, like we said, big future for Kobe. And props to Luke Daly. Obviously he got the job done too. Looked fantastic in his fight. He said that he needed this test. He lost his professional debut as well. He moves to 2-1 as a professional now. So, like everyone else, we'll look forward to seeing what he does. Be very keen to see him back. But yeah, be cool to figure out his story. Yeah.
Let's get the boys from Ballarat up here. Let's get them there.
The boys from Ballarat, yeah.
Tough kids, good fighters, and it's obvious that gym has got, they've got a good formula going on in that gym. Those guys are, they fight well, good fighters, and it's a good grab from Cam to find a gym like Ballarat's probably not where you're looking to find fighters for a local promotion. But that's the other thing too with Eternal. It's starting to branch out. Well, not even starting, it has been for a while, but you're really starting to see guys from nearly anywhere in Australia. If you're good enough, Cam will pay the money and get you up here.
100%. So I'd love to see that. And like I said, Harry Webb out of that same gym, would love to see him come back and fight for Eternal MMA because, again, one of the more impressive debuts that I've seen from a fighter coming and get the job done that he did. So Infinite MMA, definitely a gym to watch there. We'll see what happens for those guys in the future, but we move on. We had Diego Pereira back in the cage defeating Luke Jones by decision. Diego back to doing what Diego does. Steady fight for him. Looked incredible through those first couple of rounds. He did get clipped in the third round, but Diego's experience wins out in the end. Gets wobbled in the third round, manages to take his opponent down to the ground and finishes sort of the game on top and eked out that 3-round decision win. But Diego, leg kicks from the start, looked sharp, controlled the pace, controlled the tempo. Luke Jones looked a bit gun-shy to me in the first sort of couple of rounds. Did let his hands go in the third round. But you were cage side. Tell us what you sort of thought about that fight. But Diego Pereira gets himself back in the win column and marches on in that featherweight division.
Look, firstly, I want to give props to Luke Jones and his corner because Luke's brother fought last week or the week before in the Perth card. And I remember on the podcast, I sort of chastised him a little bit and said, look, he fought a losing fight the whole fight and kept doing the same thing in the third round that he did in the first two and expecting anything different to happen. Well, Luke did the same thing in the first 2 rounds. And I remember sort of saying to Cam, like, is he going to do the exact same thing as his brother did? But I actually heard his corner tell him, were very honest with him, you're down 2 rounds. You need to win this fight. You need to win this round. Now, he came out, guns blazing. Now, if you watch those first 2 rounds and then you watch that last round, that's a different fighter. That guy came out there with the mentality of wanting to finish that fight. He rocked Diego. He hurt Diego on a couple of different occasions, hit him with some good shots. And I'm super impressed with Luke to not just do what you've been doing and just lose a decision. He could have gone and just did what he did, lose a decision. He wasn't really getting hurt. His legs were getting banged up a bit, but he wasn't getting hurt. And it's easy just to cruise through when you've already lost 2 rounds. I'm not going to win this fight. I'll just take it easy. I don't want to get hurt. Cruise through a 3rd round and just take a decision loss and get on with your day. He didn't do that. He came in that 3rd round. And we were right in front of that shot when Diego got hit. It buckled Diego's legs. I spoke to Diego afterwards. Diego said he saw light, a flash from when he got hit. And he sort of doesn't really remember exactly, but he knows he hit a takedown. And he sort of just kind of almost came to holding him on the floor and was like, and he said, I just instinctively knew. I
was going to say, is that just the instincts taking over? I don't know what that feels like. So, I mean, that's just muscle memory and just experience and instinct kicking in there.
And look, it was the perfect thing to do at the perfect time. And look, full credit to Diego and his team because the repetitions are in the bank to make you do that. A lot of guys get hit like that and they, start trying to zombie walk or grab the other fighter. He went straight down, takedown, got the takedown, controlled the position. He said when he sort of really got his senses back, he just knew that he had to keep this guy on the ground. He had to control this position, which he did obviously for the remainder of the round, and he got the victory. But all round, a good fight from Diego, start to finish, the switching of the stance. He kicked the outside of the leg. He kicked the inside of the leg. He kicked the calf. There was a couple of times there where I saw Luke put his leg down a bit gingerly, and I thought, okay, this might be the moment where Diego paws it on a bit. But then Luke would come back with some strikes of his own. So, full credit to Luke for staying in that fight that whole time. But, big moment in round 3. And again, it's just that experience from Diego like that. That's the type of thing you see it in the UFC, guys get cracked hard and you just see that reaching, that stiff arm reaching because you don't have your senses. You've been cracked. You see that white light or the honeycomb, depending how you get hit. Sometimes it's like a black honeycomb coming in. Sometimes it's a flash of light. For Diego, he said it was a flash of light. And yeah, he just, that muscle memory, got that takedown, saved himself from a really, really dangerous position because Luke was coming on strong. He was hitting hard and he really, really had a lot of intention to try and finish that fight. He was trying to fulfill the wishes of his coaches. And look, props to both boys. But, for you younger fighters out there, when you see that from a fighter like Diego, that's experience, that's time in the cage, that's time on the mat, that's time with your coaches. And, you sort of, it's one of those things that's really hard to train for. It's almost experience. But look, that's the thing to do. You get hurt like that, get a takedown, get a clinch, get something. Don't get hit again. Don't, and it's easy for me to say because, look, when you get hit, there's no saying how someone's going to respond. But that is, if there's going to be a good response, that's the perfect response when you're hit and hurt that badly, is to either get a clinch or get a fantastic takedown and allow yourself to clear some of those cobwebs and allow yourself to reset. And even if they do get back to their feet, you've given yourself a little bit of time to try and readjust.
No, he saved the fight for himself there in the 3rd round because he won the first 2 rounds very clearly. So, kudos to him for getting that takedown and not letting that slip out of his fingers because, it could easily sort of happen to him. And I must correct myself there at the start of the Diego Pereira conversation. I said he got himself back in the win column. Diego Pereira did win his previous fight against Jesse Medina there. So 2 fights on the trot, 3 in his last 4 for Diego Pereira. So well and truly back in the mix. Gets himself into double-digit wins for his career at 10-7. So Diego, huge personality, great guy to talk to. Absolute quote machine when you talk to him and you got to put something up on the social medias. Just, great all-round guy. And from the people you talk to, just very giving to the game as well. The type of guy that's very happy to share his knowledge in the game. He loves the sport. He's coming into a sort of a different phase in his life now. I think he mentioned after the fight that he's planning on sort of getting married early next year. Congratulations to Diego. Did see him get engaged previously. So, very cool for him. But a bit of a different change in pace for him after his, previous wins where he sort of bullet a gate. So I think for him, coming to that part of his life and just sort of settling things down for him inside the cage with everything there, I think that's a positive for him too. And he did give big shout outs to Ben Johnson in his corner as well. Training with Ben at the Fight Center. Of course, Ben Johnson, middleweight, has fought a couple of times for Eternal MMA. But just curious to get your thoughts on, Ben Johnson working with guys like Diego Pereira, the Fight Center up there in Brisbane. Cool things happening there. But a lot of people very complimentary of Ben Johnson and what he's doing for people as far as him working with those guys and Diego Pereira there especially.
Look, don't get me wrong, Ben Johnson certainly is a big factor in there. And if you've ever seen a jiu-jitsu or a fight nerd, like he really is a fight nerd. He can watch tape, he can watch instructionals, he could spend all day doing that type of thing. He's got an enjoyment for the art, for the sport, for learning that a lot of people don't have. But you need to understand at TFC, it's not one person. There's so many people that contribute there. Nakia Melody is in there. He's got a ton of experience. He's out of Southside originally with Vicench, VC, whatever you want to call him.
Vicench Cavaconch. Yeah.
Yeah, however, I'm not even going to have a go at, even though I've known him for over a decade, I still can't say it. And then obviously through with Pasha, with Paul Stollier and stuff, and now obviously out on his own with TFC. So he brings a wealth of knowledge over there. Then, of course, Diego's longtime striking coach, Uncle Des. And if you're wondering, it's not his real uncle, but Uncle Des is everyone's uncle.
Yes.
He's my uncle, he's your uncle, he's everyone's uncle. Now, Des, he works a warehouse job. He lives on the north side of the city, and he travels through traffic, hour and whatever it is each way to get down. And he doesn't just train these guys; he also mentors these guys. He is like that uncle. He is like that. He's been around. He's from Auckland. He bounced in Auckland. He bounced here in Brisbane. He's been a coach for so many people. He competed in jiu-jitsu. He's got a lot of knowledge and stuff as well. But it's just, he's very calm, guys. So you draw from that. And I just think it's almost like that triangle of Ben, Nakia, and Uncle Des. And then, of course, like having Diego there. Diego's helping the young guys come through. You got Nick Kepu. He's helping the young guys come through. They've got high-level strikers in there. They've got, I can't think of his name. He just won a fight the other day. Please don't leg kick me when I'm in next. But like they've got guys fighting for belts. They've got guys fighting on shows all the time. They've got boxers. They've got kickboxers. So it's just a gym that's full of a lot of guys headed in the right direction, headed by guys with experience, with guys who want to see guys do better. And all these guys are invested in a way that they want to see their students be better than they ever were. Do you know what I mean? There's no ego in trying to hamstring someone because you want to be the top and you want people to worship you or you want people to always look up. These guys are trying to build all these guys up to be better than they ever were. So look, it's a good gym, and Ben Johnson's a very good coach. I've seen him coach, but yeah, you have to understand that what makes that gym good at the moment is the holistic nature of Des, Nakia, Ben, plus everybody else chipping in, and a bunch of young guys, young fighters, young people. They've also got Chelsea Hackett, who fought in PFL.
Yeah. Yep.
And look, they're doing lots of things down there. Like when the guys are sparring in the cage, they bring the whole gym over to watch them spar. Yell, give them that almost like a crowd experience. Does that make sense? Like when you've got people there yelling from the cage, yelling, barracking, cheering, trying to send you energy. You know what I mean? Like it's a very interesting dynamic that they've got down there. And I think you're going to see some good things come out of that gym in future. And just on that point, we've sort of spoken to Cam a little bit about this. This is something, because like obviously that's a gym that I've had access to. That's a gym I've gone and trained at. So it's a gym that I can speak confidently about. I have no doubts these dynamics happen in other gyms. And what we're going to do next year, we've spoken to Cam, and this is something that sort of you were talking about, we were going to bring up on the podcast, things that are happening into 2024. And this is something we're going to do. I'm going to spend a little bit more time getting into some of these other gyms, taking myself to these gyms where I haven't previously had access to, or haven't trained as much, so I can speak a little bit more confidently on integrated, on Shindo, on CMBT, on Infinite, on Infinity, and you know, I'm missing 1,000 gyms, Mackay, Combat Lab. You know, there's so many great gyms out there now, and I'm going to spend a bit of time next year really getting in there, seeing those dynamics, see how they put things together. That way we can sort of, you know, get a bit more of a understanding and a culture from these gyms that are producing these fighters who not only compete regularly, but also win regularly.
No, that's a fantastic idea, man. I honestly can't wait to see what comes out of that. What a good idea, and to be able to get some more of that insight. I mean, you've already got, you know, such a wealth of knowledge of those gyms up there. Obviously, I'm down here in Victoria, and I see jack shit of that. So, yeah, to be able to talk to you in this show and hear about those insights, and I thank you for bringing up those other guys too. Obviously, I mentioned Ben Johnston. You know, I'm familiar with the other guys through talking to Diego. You know, of course, your Uncle Des and Nakia Melody and all those guys too. Absolutely correct. So thank you very much for making sure, those guys get their flowers for everything they're doing there too.
Just before we get off the Diego thing, you said that he's always got quotes. He's always got things.
Oh yeah.
When he went backstage for his post-fight medical, just as such a classic Diego moment. We got backstage, Diego sat down, the doctor walks over, and Diego says, "Do I look okay? Am I still pretty?"
Nice. Yeah.
It's a Diego moment. He's
full of moments. He's full of moments. So he's just one of those guys. Like, before I was doing the podcast, I was pretty much just strictly sort of writing articles. And when you talk to guys and you have conversations like this, and you're trying to pick certain things that you would put into a bit of a story, Diego's the kind of guy that you can just wind him up, let him talk, and every sentence he says, I'm like, I can just pick that and paste it in. I can pick that and paste it in there. And I mean, a lot of the guys you talk to, they're not used to doing this sort of thing. They're not used to talking on camera, even if it's not for a podcast. And so, when they talk, their quotes are quite broken up and all that sort of thing. They'll transition from half a sentence to another and all that sort of thing too. So, that's just a little shout out to Diego. Anytime I've talked to Diego, I've absolutely loved it because everything that Diego says practically writes itself, especially from an article perspective. So, can't wait to get Diego back on here. I'll let him take his time off for now. I was keen to get him on the show. I didn't reach out to him because I thought he's clearly in that sort of space right now where he's happy to walk away, take the win, start thinking about his wedding coming up, and I wish him absolutely nothing but the best. He's one of my favorite people in the sport. So props to Diego Pereira moving to 10-7. Very keen to see what comes next for him after he gets married and gets back in the cage because he's still very much in that featherweight picture.
just on Luke Jones. It's Luke. It's Luke. Is it Luke Jones?
It is Luke Jones.
It is Luke Jones. My apologies. Just on him, man, I would have just loved to have seen him bring what he brought in the third round to the first and the second round. I just really felt like he left some fight on the table. If you've got that much energy, that much power, and that much intensity and want to win in the third round, for sure it's there in the first and second round too. And don't look, I'm not saying Diego wasn't making it hard for him. I'm not saying, obviously Diego's elusive. He throws a lot of those leg kicks. He also stomps that front knee. You have to be very careful of Diego. He's a wily character. But again, I just think that Luke left a little on the table, and I'd like to see him start his next fight like he finished that fight, just with a little more intensity. And he's obviously got heavy hands. He's got good skills. Let's see him in those first few rounds and, rather than having to rush and fit everything into that third round.
Absolutely. Let's see what comes next for him. I mean, he's fought on Eternal a couple of times. Coming into this fight, he won his last two on the trot, beating guys like Jesse Medina back at Eternal 40. Fun fact for Luke Jones, his first professional fight was, unfortunately for him, a loss, but against Jack Becker, who fought in the co-main event of Eternal 81, which we'll get to. So we move on. We were 3 fights from the end there. We had Dom Marfan getting back in there, getting the job done by rear naked choke against Michael Stanoff. Looked fantastic. He did get clipped early in that fight, did Dom Marfan. Moving on from that, he is looking to potentially get back in there and fight and get that win back against Quillen Sol Killed for the lightweight title. So a bit of a watch this space moment for Dom Marfan. But he came in, he got the job done. He's fighting, of course, out of the Compton Training Center. The Compton Training Center, am I getting that correctly? So you can see shades of his hands coming up to match his very high-level grappling game. He's a medalist in a number of grappling competitions. You see that, and he looks fantastic doing that, especially from such a young age. But he looked good against Michael Stanoff. He rights his ship. He's only had that one loss to Quillen Sol Killed. Gone all through 2023 on a 3-fight win streak, so a lot of momentum for him there. But your thoughts on Dom Marfan, how good he sort of looked in that fight, maybe the things that he did wrong, what he could sort of correct for himself going forward if he is to get that fight against Quillen Sol Killed, but also the things that he did right getting that finish. Because for me, and for everyone else there, I did not see that tap happen. I just, everyone was sort of quiet, and then all of a sudden, his opponent, Michael Stanoff, has tapped at some point, and he got the win. Yep. I didn't see it happen. What did it look like from your perspective, sitting cage side?
Yeah, no, it was just a little tap on the arm. It was, it sort of, I guess to you guys, it probably looked like he was fighting the hand, but he sort of put the hand up.
And we couldn't see it because the camera, his back was over him, so we just saw him like kind of holding on to him, and all of a sudden the fight stopped, and we're like, the fuck's going on? Oh, he's tapped. Sure. Okay, very good. So
yeah, look, Dom, look, there's not really much that he could do better than what he did in that fight. Like outside getting cracked, and Michael really hit him hard off the bat. It buckled his knees, and I was like, okay, that's Michael's really Stanoff's decided, hey, I'm going to come out and I'm going to try and blitz this guy off the park. And Dom steadied the ship very quickly. and he pretty much took over from there. And it really is that quicksand style of grappling. Like, he just demoralizes you. There's hooks. He seems to just have you wrapped up everywhere, and it's a choose your own adventure. If you go this way, he takes you back. If you go the other way, he steps over and, sort of mermaids or threads your legs. And it just, I was watching at cage side, getting frustrated on behalf of Michael Stanhope, just watching him trying to swim his legs, trying to post up, trying to get out of these positions, and just constantly having posts pulled out, being controlled, having his hips controlled, getting mat returns, getting all these things. And I look, it's just one of those really, really frustrating fights where you just don't ever seem to be able to get that separation from Dom. Dom did a fantastic job. Again, this is what I'm talking about when I say getting into these other gyms. What a stellar corner. You had Elliot Compton, you had Steve Compton, and you had Tom Nolan.
What a corner.
Like, what a corner to have. Again, I keep saying, I want to see more of Dom stand up, because I've got no doubt it's there. Because if you're up there at Compton's,
oh, you couldn't be training with those guys and not have that part of your game level up. No way.
You just, unless your stand-up's good, you're going to get punched and hurt too much up there, So I'm assuming it's there. I have no doubt it's there, but we just haven't seen it. And look, at the same time, do what you need to do to win. Don't try to, now is not the time to be trying out the latest and greatest techniques. You're trying to get yourself back into a position to get a title shot, get yourself back into position to avenge your loss to Quillen. He's doing the right things. And like I said, it was just such a smothering, dominant display, the whole thing. And like I said, it was like, I could almost feel it. Like, if you've ever had someone on you that you can't get off, it's like, yuck, get off me, and everywhere you go, they are. And just when you think you're away, mat return. And now you have to start again. You have to start building your base again, start trying to tripod again. And yeah, it's just, he's all over you constantly, 24/7. And just, have you ever watched the way Wing Chun guys do that sticky hand stuff?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
It's like Dom does that, but with his legs. He's like controlling your legs with his legs, and the way he like sort of threads his legs through your legs for control, and he sort of feels them trying to base or trying to sit out. And the moment he feels it, like that stickiness, he knows you're trying to do something. He readjusts, pulls your legs in, stiffens your leg out, whatever it is to take your base away, to stop you from getting an advantage where you could get back up. And it just looked really frustrating for Stanhope, not being able to implement his game plan and just having this wet blanket constantly on him the whole match.
I've got two questions for you just on that one. The first question I want to ask, how much of that dominance on the ground by Dom Marfan do you attribute to how good Dom Marfan is on the ground versus maybe, how much, or how, I don't know if Michael Stanhope's a fish out of water on the ground necessarily, but yeah, how much of that is Dom Marfan versus Michael Stanhope's abilities on the ground? And two, you just talking about there, it'd be interesting to see how his stand-up game comes along to match his ground game, especially training with the Compton brothers, training with Tom Nolan. We see a lot of fighters, a lot of pro fighters when you go back through their records, and a lot of these guys start off with a lot of submission wins early in their record because they can just submit these guys that don't so much know what they're doing. And then as they kind of go up, their striking game has to sort of play it a bit with that. So can you just answer those couple of questions for me as far as, Dom Marfan's building the ground versus Stanhope? And how much do you think we'll see his striking game come out as he starts fighting high-level opponents?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to clip this, what you just said there, and I'm going to send it straight to the Compton team because they're not Compton brothers. Steve is the dad, and Elliot
my
is the
apologies.
son.
Yeah, sorry.
But Steve will be so excited to think that I'm not
just
sure
riffing. Just as soon as Compton, they're there. Just Compton brothers. Yeah, I know this. If they do see this, I very much know what that dynamic is. It just Compton. You just. It's late. Sure I'm an hour later here. It's 10 o'clock for me. It's not fair. You're still on 9 o'clock. So, forgive me there. It's getting late. It's my bedtime. Come on.
Look, I'm not sure who's more excited there, whether it's Steve thinking he looks young enough to be Elliot's brother or Elliot being angry that
we'll call it a compliment. we'll call it that. No, I do apologize for that one. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Do clip that and send it to him without context. So, yes, of course, you are correct. You are correct there. That's my second hell of the night, so that's okay. We can keep making fun of you. I don't mind. The show goes on.
It's all good. We all do it. That's I'm due for a couple. Now, look, in terms of Dom does this in grappling competitions where all they're doing is grappling. Do you know what I mean? So his ability is up there regardless of whether it's MMA, BJJ, grappling tournaments, wrestling, whatever it is. He's got those skills, and we've seen him in multiple fights just implement this game plan. Look, Michael Stanhoff is no joke. He trains down there at the Lions Den with Luke Pizzuti. These guys are extremely talented, extremely good fighters, and I think it's more of a testament to Dom, to the team out there at Compton, the work that they've done together out there to get into that point. And yeah, I think Dom's just that good. Like I said, if you take him out of MMA and you put him just into grappling, he also looks that good. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's his skill level. But again, like I said, looking forward, I'm hoping that he's done enough or close to enough to get that Quillen fight. I'd like to see that fight again. I think he's matured as a fighter. I think he's put a few more tools in the toolbox, and I'd like to see that rematch. I think that rematch almost has to happen. Like, that's the one that makes sense. You've got the Street Buddha, who's got a massive fan following out here. You've got Quillen, who's got a massive fan following out there. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a fight that everyone will want to see. And it's a tough fight for both guys. It's a really tough fight. I mean, look, we saw Quillen just take on a guy who's a D2 wrestler. And, I mean, for lack of better words, he beat him everywhere. Beat him in the wrestling, beat him in the grappling, beat him in the stand-up. Is Dom a D2 wrestler? No, he's not. But was George St. Pierre a D2 wrestler? No, he wasn't. MMA grappling and MMA wrestling is not a one-to-one transfer. Of course, it helps to be a wrestler, but we saw George St. Pierre take down wrestlers who are far more credentialed than he was. Do you know what I mean? So I think saying that Quillen beat a wrestler easily like that doesn't necessarily mean it transfers. Dom, I think, has a better overall flowing game and a much better transitional game than Pastore?
Yeah, I'm saying Pastor.
Pastor,
I'd say Pastor, yeah.
I think he has a better overall MMA in terms of the ability to flow, to transition. He's nowhere near as segmented. And look, I hope it's a fight that gets offered. I hope it's a fight that comes out. I think he's full of confidence at the moment. You saw, when he won, he got up, he was excited, he was on cages. The crowd was yelling to him. He was yelling to the crowd. And he's in that right point of his career. He's got momentum. Both of these fighters have momentum. Both of them have got good wins, and now's the right time to have that fight. And I think this fight means so much more for the division. And not so much for the division, means so much more for the fighters, because if Quillen was to beat Dom, he sort of absorbs Dom's wins and sort of has cleared that division a bit, and he might look at bigger and better things. He might start to look at that UFC Contender Series thing. Like, it's a fight that has implications for their career. Now, if Dom's to get over the top of Quillen, well, he kind of absorbs Quillen's wins, and that too puts him in the position of, they're both young guys, they've both got fantastic careers ahead of them, but which one of them is going to make that next step almost imminently? Because I think both these guys must be on the cusp of a fight or two about breaking through into sort of that next realm of their career.
Yeah, and both young guys. I mean, both still 23 years of age. Maybe Quillen's 24 now, but I believe still 23 years of age. Quillen got that job done over. Quillen got the job done over Don Marfan back at Eternal 68 by a rear naked choke. So showing off the ground game that we've talked about. Obviously in his last fight, dominating a guy that's a D2 wrestler, showing off their chops. Speaking about Don Marfan, I don't know. I can't remember what the competitions that he's grappled in. But, I mean, you talk to Don Marfan on the pod, and behind him all on his wall is just medal titles. So, all those accolades he's got there. So it makes for a fascinating matchup. And Don Marfan, I mean, he's growing up in front of our eyes, fighting for Eternal MMA. His body's filling out. You're seeing the way he's sort of growing, and crediting those guys, the Compton brothers, of course. We got that one wrong. But Steve and Elliot Compton down there at the Compton Training Center, crediting those guys with, leveling up his striking game, helping out his chin a lot because, I mean, he's fighting with guys like Tom Nolan in the gym every single day. So to see those guys potentially be able to go at it. I think Dom was offered that fight against Quillen last time. He did say apparently that he wanted one more fight before taking that rematch, and it pays off because he gets the win. He gets another winner, or he gets another fight in his record, gets another winner on his record, and it just builds that fight up to another level again, rather than necessarily taking that sort of last opportunity. It makes what's sort of potentially to come ahead just that much bigger. For two young guys like that to be facing off for a title in their career at the level they're at, massively exciting. It'll be a massive fight. I, for one, can't wait to see that if that's what plays out.
Look, and don't write off Michael Stanhope either. That guy's had some good wins. He's a good competitor. He's a good fighter. He was outmatched on the wrestle and on the ground, and it's something for him just to go home and have a look at. And that's just, obviously a part of his game. And I guess when you lose so definitively in a single area of the game, it really sort of it's like a light bulb. Hey, if I'm going to compete with these guys, I really have to level up here. So it's really giving him an opportunity.
We talked about Kobe Porter earlier. I mean, he's got a first-round rear naked choke win over Kobe Porter. So, he's fighting with these guys and he's beating these guys too. So, yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, look, I like I said, I just want him to go back to the drawing board. Maybe, it's just an area of your game you just have to spend a little bit more time on. Just something you have to look at and say, okay, this is the level. I went and fought guys at the level maybe just below a title shot. That's the level of grappling. That's the level of wrestling I need to be at. Now he knows what he has to attain if he wants to make it to that level.
Let's get it. Let's see what happens next for those guys. Potentially Don Marfan getting that shot again against Quillen Solkill with a lightweight title on the line, no less. We'll see if that one comes to fruition. We'll see what 2024 holds for those guys. But we move on to the second to last fight of the evening. We had Jack Becker getting himself back in the win column against the very experienced Kieran Joblin. This was very grapple heavy, obviously, from Jack. To me, fought like he knew he just needed to get a win back in the column. He just needed to fight a smart fight. He needed to control a very dangerous, experienced opponent in Kieran Joblin. Both fighters kind of had little moments sort of here and there. But ultimately, Jack just did what he had to do to grind out the win, get himself in the win column, steady the ship. A guy obviously coming back, had 2 losses on the trot. If you include, obviously, the loss where he broke his leg in that fight before, he was supposed to hop off potentially the Contender Series. Came back at Eternal 78, lost to David Martinez. He needed to come back and get himself in the win column, and he did that, albeit by a split decision. Curious to know what your thoughts are on the fight in terms of, was it worthy of you shouldn't say that's a split decision because it just means someone potentially got it wrong. But do you think it was that close that it warranted someone potentially believing that it was a split decision or that Kieran got the job done at least?
Look, it's definitely one of those fights where I could see a split decision. I thought it was a really good job from the judges. And I think all night, again, the judges, the referees, they had a fantastic night. I thought it was a good decision because it just all depends. And that's the fantastic nature. And I know it gets bagged a lot about having 3 judges and all that. But the great thing about it is no judge will see it exactly the same way. There'll be certain judges, there's a criteria that you have to score within. But each judge will unconsciously bias certain techniques, unconsciously bias certain control positions. Some of them might enjoy the stand-up a little more. Some might enjoy the ground a little more. As much as they all say, no, we just do it. Like we're human beings. We're flawed animals. We're always going to have a certain level of bias towards what we prefer, our preferences, yeah? So I think it was a great fight to have a split decision. Both of them, like you said, you nailed it. Both of them had their moments. It really was a good fight from Jack in terms of doing what he had to do. I think he looked more confident. I had a chance to speak with Jack outside the cage almost immediately afterwards, asked him about the leg, asked him about how he felt in terms of throwing it, standing on it. Do you feel as confident as you felt before the injury? His response was that, yes, I'm training as if it never happened. He showed more confidence. Again, Kieran Joblin, he's done it all. He's fought them all. He's been everywhere, done everything. He's never going to be an easy fight. Again, it's just that, it's what do you like? What parts of the game do you like? And 2 judges like more of what Jack did, and 1 judge like more of what Kieran did. But yeah, I thought it was worthy of a split decision. And hard fought, grindy, technical, not necessarily a super crowd friendly fight. But the good thing is crowds are getting better. We're not seeing
It was still very high level.
Yeah. We're not seeing those old school crowds, stand them up. You know what I mean? All that type of, genius stuff. The crowds are more intelligent. The crowds know more now. So, the crowds were into it, but it just wasn't as fan friendly as, your Victor versus Corey Lynch fight, that type of thing. And it's hard to recreate that type of thing in such a high level, game of inches where any one of these guys makes one mistake and the other guy's good enough he can finish it. So, both of them were, fighting somewhat conservatively, which was respect to the other guy about how good and how much they understood how good the other person was. But great fight from Jack, great fight from Kieran. Good decision from the judges. I really felt like a split decision was the right. I honestly scored it like just inside my head. I thought Jack won, but I wouldn't have gone and cried robbery if Kieran won either.
Yeah, robbery, another term that gets thrown around when we talk about crowds and all that sort of thing and what they like to sort of shout out among other things. But you're right. I mean, shout out to the crowd in the Gold Coast too. They were well into it for their hometown guys and they were getting stuck into it left, right and centre. And I mean, just a couple of things on that too. We get taken on a bit of an emotional roller coaster ride when you get fights opening up from the main card from Victor Lyle and you get an absolute sort of bangers. I mean, you can sort of be forgiven when it takes a little bit of a dip in terms of that fan-friendly sort of slugfest and that sort of thing when you see something a little bit more technical from the grappling side of things, but doesn't make it any less high level than what you're sort of seeing. And to your point, seeing those guys, displaying that high-level grappling and just sort of trying to solve that puzzle. I mean, Kieran Jobler coming into that fight, 38 pro fights or something I think he had. Jack Becker, 30 years old now. I think that was his 15th pro fight, I think, sort of coming in. I'd be curious to sort of know. And just on that, I mean, I think you mentioned before too, you spoke to Jack at the back and said that he was throwing those kicks like he'd never had that leg break. I mean, to me, that's just incredible that you can put something like that to your back of your mind. He handled it like a champ when you first saw it happen, like came out, giving the thumbs to the crowd. I mean, I'm never coming back from anything like that. I mean, you say he's throwing it like it never happened. I still can't bite an apple with half this tooth. My front tooth is fake after I got punched in the face when I was 19 years old, like fucking 16 years ago. And I still can't bite into an apple. I could, but I can't mentally sort of get around it. So for guys like that to be throwing leg kicks after they snapped in half, I mean, these guys, I'm never ceased to be impressed by them. So curious to know what you think for Jack Becker. 30 years old now. We know that he was potentially supposed to go into that Contender Series fight if he'd won that fight against Aiden Aguilera, if he didn't have that leg break. Came to another loss to that after David Martinez, gets himself back into the win column, still keeps himself in that mix in consideration for potential lightweight title fights in the future for Eternal MMA. Where do you think he goes from here?
Well, look, it's good to see his confidence back. Good to see him get a win over such a high-level opponent. But there is a little bit of urgency. Like, he is 30. He does have like a nicer, like a really good body of work, but he is coming back, which is almost like, I don't want to say a reset, but when you have that long off and that much of a catastrophic injury,
it delays things a bit.
It does. And look, he does have to put the foot down a little bit. And I'd like to see him like really active next year. Like if he still has it in his heart that the UFC is where he wants to be, like, you hear Dana White, starting to say things like, we're not necessarily looking for 33-year-olds or 35-year-olds.
Literally was thinking the exact same thing in my head. If you didn't say that, I was going to say that. He says that every time he's on the Contender Series, that, hey, I'm not looking to take 30, year plus age guys onto the show.
Yeah.
He still does, but as you said, it's time to put the foot down now.
And that's the thing, like, if that's what he wants. Like I said, if he's happy to be Australian champions up, that's definitely well within his grasp. That's something he could definitely do. He's a talented kid. But yeah, like I said, if that fire still burns for him and he wants to get that level, he's going to have to get some wins and he's going to have to do it in somewhat of a look. It can't be 6 months between fights. It can't be fight twice a year. If that's what he's going to do, it's not going to happen for him, unfortunately. But he needs to sort of next year almost needs to be his year, if that makes sense. And if he can sort of put his foot down, get himself 4 fights or something like that sort of fight, and I know people are going to say like that, look, that's every 3 months. Well, that is a lot. And that's, a lot of the time that's asking a lot. That's saying, hey, don't get injured at training. Don't get burnt out at training. Don't get injured in a fight. Don't lose a fight. It's a big ask. But again, if you're going to dream big, well, you have to act big to go for those dreams. It can't just be a dream. So, I think 3 fights minimum next year would have to be, and I'd like to see him really put the foot down and get 4 in if his life allows it, if it's still what he wants, and, he can remain uninjured and he can remain in the gym and training. I'd like to see him put 4 fights away and, put himself in a position to sort of live that dream that he obviously had before.
Yeah, let's see if he goes on a run in 2024. I mean, certainly has the skills to get it done. Does play his cards close to his chest in terms of what he potentially likes to sort of do with his career, but, still 30 years old. He gets that run going. Let's see what happens because, I mean, if you listen to what the word was, the UFC did have their eye on him. So you hope for his sake and what you said, if that's still what's in his heart, what he wants to do, let's get another guy from scrappy MMA over to the UFC to follow in the footsteps of Jack Becker because any more Australians we get over there, I mean, happy days for us. More guys we get to cheer on, more guys we get to ship out of Eternal. Eternal's the place to be if you want to go over there. You're fighting on UFC Fight Pass, and that's getting proven week in and week out. We speak to guys that want to get themselves in the UFC. The man that I spoke to ahead of Eternal 81, he said this is his life. He said there's nothing else that he wants to do. He wants to be in the UFC. He doesn't want to just get to the UFC. He wants to follow in the footsteps of guys like Jack Della Maddalena and shine once he gets there. It's, of course, John Martin Fraser winning back his middleweight title in the main event in absolutely spectacular fashion with that first-round knockout. I wish I was there to see it live and in person. Doing it against a guy like Brogan Anderson with a 17-3 record, with a guy of his grappling acumen, the size of a guy like Brogan Anderson. I mean, you just look at his record and think, what sort of test is this going to be for John Martin Fraser? And if it was a test, passed with absolute flying colours, looked sharp, switching the stances earlier, cracking left hook to put him on skates, and then just finished it with a flurry of punches. What a way to win the first card. What a way to win the main card. We started with an absolute cracker, and we ended it with a cracker. Your thoughts on John Martin Fraser and that big win?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, if you go back through the podcasts, I picked Brogan to win that fight. I thought Brogan would just be too much. I thought the experience would be too much. I was expecting more wrestling, more level changes, more feints. I was expecting Brogan to really do a lot more. When he came out, he looked he's a calm character anyway, but he just looked almost a little flat, a little dry, if I will. Like, he just, I saw him, point to his supporters, which were just back behind us, give him a little thumbs up and a wink. And, he just, he's never seemed to get out of first gear. Now, take nothing away from John. Like, it's hard to get out of first gear when, you're still sitting on your driveway when John comes running in your door, kicking in your front door. When John came out, John was mean mugging him from the start. John came out looking angry. He stared at him from the moment he got, like, on the way to the cage, he was staring at him.
Yeah.
When he got in the cage, he was staring at him. A couple of times I was like, does anyone know, John, this is just a fight, bro. Just relax. It's just a fight. He seemed like, that Brogan had stolen his lunch money at school back in, but I guess that's what you need. And, he had Kyle Noak in his corner there. And obviously that with Kyle comes a lot of experience and things like that. I spoke to Kyle briefly outside, and Kyle sort of said John's the only guy that he's mainly focusing on in terms of coaching and that type of stuff. But yeah, he came out there and he just looked like an angry man that was in the zone and ready to go. He jumped off, and from the get-go, it looked like that fight was never going to go around. It looked like from the start, whatever was going to happen in that first round. Conversely, if you watch Brogan was very calm in the stand-up. The first exchange, Brogan, sort of took on the forearms nicely, stood up, relaxed, but there was no urgency. There was just no level change. There was no anything that I sort of was really expecting to see from him. No real feints. And too much standing in front of a guy like John Martin Fraser. And unfortunately, he got rocked. He got put on Queer Street. 2023. He got put on equal opportunity street.
I think that's still an expression, isn't it? We just, I don't know, like, you know.
I don't think you can say it anymore. He got put on equal opportunity street, and he was struggling to get his feet. And again, like when you're hurt like that, John Martin Fraser's not letting you go. The leather was going. It was high. It was low. It was hooks. It was straight. Yeah. And so it happened right in front of me and Ken. Even the punches that were being blocked, you could hear that smack of the glove off the forearms.
Well, didn't Brogan get his hand up for that one that he caught him with that, you know, put him on said street? Like, I thought it looked like he blocked it, but he caught him hard enough that it just went through. I thought he got his hand up. It happened so fast, but I thought he blocked it, but then all of a sudden he's sort of stumbling. That's what it looked like. I mean, at least from the camera view, I thought he got his hand up.
There's not very much feeling out from John. Like I said, from the get-go, I think he decided round one is the round, and there shall be no other rounds.
Well, I mean, we talk about before that. I mean, we speak about Jack Becker in terms of that next phase of his career about, hey, it's time to put your foot down. I mean, John Martin Fraser, 31 years old, he looks like a guy that is in that phase right now of, hey, this is go time. There's no time for mucking around. We're going out there. We're getting some wins on the board. He's dealt with his injury adversity in the past and that sort of thing as well. He looks like a guy that's ready to go now. We know what he wants.
Well, look, he's wasted no time. Got it done in the first against a very experienced opponent, and in a fairly dramatic fashion. Like I said, that first shot got him wobbled, and then it was just big shots and really, really like the intensity that he brings. And I said to somebody, he looks like a very angry Irishman. Somebody said that he's Welsh.
He's Welsh, yeah.
And then somebody else told me he was English, but I think that's somebody else who told me he was English is trying to get me a punch in the face from John.
I was going to say, let's clip that so we can get that out there. That Darren Martin called John Martin Fraser Irish and then English. So I'm going to clip that if we're going to get me on the Compton brothers. But he's a Welshman.
That.
Yes.
Clip that and send that off to John. But yeah, look, the intensity was there, and he just never let Brogan get into his fight. Brogan never, ever got into the fight, never got out of first gear, never got to feel comfortable, never got to implement any of his game plan at all. And, it's, look, for those guys who are going to fight John Martin Fraser in future, it's, look, he's not here. He's not fighting for second, third, fourth, and fifth rounds. It's almost that Rocky III style, isn't it? We're getting it done in 3 or we're not getting it done. And, it's very hard because when you go up against a guy who throws such heavy leather right from the outset and there's no real feeling out period, it's a daunting prospect. Hey, what do? Do I engage him in the middle? Because every time I throw a punch, if he's throwing one too, it's as hard as he can throw it. It's full pace and it's, you know what I mean? So you have to sort of jump over those mental hurdles. And you even heard about from Eugene when Eugene spoke at the UFC when Israel Adesanya lost his belt to Sean Strickland. He said every time that Israel threw a punch, Sean Strickland countered with a punch every single time, not 50% of the time, not 70% of the time, 100% of the time. And he said that's a mental hurdle to jump when every time you throw, there's one coming back at you. Well, I think it was the same in this fight, but not so much as in it's a counter, but just every time you throw, John's going to throw as hard as he can at your face, and they're coming in bunches, and he's not stopping. He's strong. He's fit. He's Welsh. He's definitely Welsh.
He's Welsh, proud Welsh man.
So yeah, look, it's certainly some head games for your next opponent, which might be Ben Johnson. Is it might be Ben Johnson? I heard
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. Did I hear it? And look, Ben's got obviously a stand-up pedigree. He's a former world champion. Again, he's been doing a lot of work both in his own gym and over at City Kickboxing. He's a talent, but it's a big ask. It's a big ask to anybody right now. This guy is like, you can almost see it in his eyes. He doesn't think he can be beaten. He feels invincible out there. He's strong. And every time that he does this to these opponents, it's just making him a an even harder opponent for the next opponent. Because I think the next time he comes in the ring, it's more confidence, it's more invincibility, it's more power, it's more of the same stuff that we've seen from him. So if it is Ben Johnson that he does face, Ben's got his work cut out for him. And look, the game plan is going to have to be a sophisticated game plan to beat the brute that is John Martin Fraser. And, I think it really is an exciting fight in terms of you have a guy with a bunch of skills against another guy with a bunch of skills. Both guys have got stand-up, but in different aspects, and very, very technical. Not that John's not technical, but much more rough, much more ready, much more brute power, brute horsepower. And sometimes brute horsepower will get over the top.
Well, Ben, a former Muay Thai champion, right? A former world Muay Thai champion.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Ben can hit hard. We obviously saw that when he fought the Korean opponent in his last fight. He hits hard. He's skilled. If I was to guess who hits harder, just looking at the strikes, being cage side and hearing both guys, John sounds like he punches harder. He looks like he punches harder.
The sounds do not lie.
Yeah. So again, it's going to be that finesse, high-level skill against bruteness and skill. And I'm not taking away from John saying, mate, you're not a skilled fighter, but I think the pedigree will go to Ben. I think the power will go to John. And now it's just a case of who can implement their style in the cage. And I hope Cam can get this fight together if that is the next fight. But then again, like I said, I'm happy to go to the Cunnamulla Royal and watch John Martin Fraser fight out the back. I'm happy to watch him fight anybody, anywhere.
I share those sentiments too. And I mean, there's some fascinating things we can look at there. Of course, Matt Myers still very much in the mix. I mean, he was the one that gave up that title originally due to his own injury. Of course, those guys have fought twice. John Martin Fraser getting the best of Matt Myers in a catchweight fight without putting his title on the line, and did get the win over Matt Myers in that first one. And they fought again for the title at middleweight, which was John Martin Fraser's there to lose, which he did lose to Matt Myers. And then, as I said, Matt obviously having to give up that title ahead of Eternal 78, where he was supposed to fight Brogan Anderson. And of course, that's how this fight came about. I think originally Matt was told, from what I've heard, that he would be considered back in line to sort of get that title fight, depending on what his timeline is. I haven't spoken to Matt. I don't know what that is, but he's still very much in the mix. And that sort of leads me to something you said at the start there with John and his mean mugging coming out, looking at Brogan Anderson, staring him down. I saw Matt Myers on a podcast. I don't know how recent it was or what podcast it was, and I don't even know what fight it was out of their two fights, but he talked about that, coming out and just seeing John across the other side of the cage room, and he said he turned and looked, and he's just got this angry Welsh dude staring at him, and he said in that moment, he just thought, fuck, what have I got myself into here? Like, this dude just absolutely, mean mugging me, looking like that, just looking absolutely terrifying. And just on that, John's a lovely bloke. I've talked to him a couple of times. Very well spoken, albeit he did message me after last time I had him on the podcast, and he said, I'm sorry for swearing so much. And I'm like, mate, I want you to be John. You be John. I want you saying fucking every second word. Be you, man. But, so nice bloke out of the cage, an absolute killer inside of it. But yeah, scary bloke. Freaks me out that I'm 5 years older than John Martin Fraser, man. I mean, I look at him, you think that's your dad, scary dad sort of coming out to you, but I'm much older than him. So that freaks me out. Do not want to be
I don't know why, but when I see him, he just gives me groundkeeper Willie vibes. You know what I mean? He's got that red beard. He's
He's a Scotsman after all, yeah. So we may as well add the third one in there. Yeah,
add the other one. Make sure I get killed next time.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, he just had that very, like I said, he's just a very rough exterior and that very, you know what I mean? He's got a very intense look. He cracked a smile for about 3 seconds after he won. He looked into his corner, cracked a smile, and then promptly back to mean mugging again. And when he left the ring, I let Cam do the talking and sort of stay back from that one, because he just still even seemed like he hadn't quite come down the mountain from the fight. He still seemed to be in that mode of, everything was prey. And he certainly manages to get himself into a mindset where it's kill or be killed. And like I said, it's good for him, good for the promotion. And yeah, like I said, whoever it is, if it's Ben Johnson, if it's Myers, if it's somebody else, it's look, again, I watch him just punch a punching bag. It's he's such a fun guy, an intense character, and let's go.
I'll watch him punch anyone or anything except for myself. So it's a bit of a shallower pool in the middleweight ranks in this sort of division. But I mean, grateful we got a couple of guys holding it down at the top of that division. Whether, like you said, he's fighting Matt Myers next, whether he's fighting Ben Johnson next, we'll see how it plays out. But I mean, start the card with Victor Lyle from the same gym, and we're ending it with John Martin Fraser from the same gym in highlight fashion. I mean, that's just storybook stuff. So Eternal 81 is in the books. Couple of very high-end fights. 8 fights were treated to on the main card for UFC Fight Pass. Almost unheard of. So very thankful for that. And we'll see what happens next year. That's pretty much it for the rest of this year. We wait for Eternal 82. I mean, we've got a little bit of insight as to what's potentially coming down the pipeline. There's some things we can't talk about. There's a couple of things that are already sort of in the public eye. We know that Caleb Rideout versus, names escape me, Alden Bates was something that was confirmed on Eternal 81 during that cast there. But from the things that we're hearing, holy shit, people are in for an absolute treat. If everything comes together with the fights we're looking at, potential title fights, potential other fights that are being sort of thrown around. Again, there's not sort of too much we can say at this stage, but all I can say is watch this space. You know this. You've spoken to the people looking at these fights. There is so much to look forward to in 2024. I can't wait for it. I know we sit here and I'm an Eternal guy through and through, but I'm not being biased here. What we've got coming down the pipeline, cannot wait for this. Like, there are some things that are in the works now that are absolutely going to blow people's minds. Like, lots to look forward to.
Yeah, look, and again, it's there's so much to look forward to, but also it's Cam and Eternal putting back into the sport. Obviously there's things we can't talk about in their entireties yet, but the things that we have spoken about with Cam, again, he's investing back into the sport, like the things that we're going to do next year with the gyms, with me going into these gyms. Plus, there's more media, there's more stuff. He's trying to get the fighters' names out there, get them more media, get the gyms more media. Just, again, it's these shows giving back to the people that make the shows. Without the fighters, we wouldn't have a show. But without the Cams of the world, there is no show for these fighters to fight on. And it's a give and take situation, but it's just great to see Cam already ahead into 24. His head thinking about expanding the game, and it's all about a selfless act of, hey, the type of media and stuff. Of course, it's going to bring eyes to Eternal, but realistically, it's bringing eyes to these gyms, bringing eyes to these coaches, bringing eyes to these fighters. It really is letting the fans, the people, the fighters, everybody know who's who in the zoo. So you can be an even better fan, so you can, sort of know your gym, know your competitors, even know for yourself if you're at a gym, you're thinking about going to another gym, you want to cross-train at gyms. You're going to get a, more of a holistic view of some of these gyms. There's going to be more, like I said, more media, more shows next year, more things. You're doing, obviously, your podcasts, your interviews, your everything. And this is also, again, stuff that you don't get paid for, I don't get paid for. This is all stuff that Cam's put together to help the fighters, help the scene, and help the sport grow. So 2024, no doubt, it's going to be a cracking year. We're all looking forward to it. Amazing fights coming. If even half of everything we see comes together,
my God,
it's crazy. The only one thing, and I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to say, because I don't know the situation completely. But the only thing I would ask from any fighter in 2024 is be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the promotion. If you want to fight, fight. If you don't want to fight, don't fight. It's okay to say no. If you want to fight elsewhere, say it. Don't tell somebody you're going to fight, you want to fight. Allow fights to be made for you. And then, end up fighting somewhere else on another card, which isn't a bad thing. But if you've already said you're going to do one thing, and then you say that, I don't know, you're sick or something happens, and then you end up on another card and the poster's been made and the fight's been made a day after you were sick, you know what I mean? It's not good for you. Promoters talk. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for anything. If you want to fight on another card, it's your career, it's your life. Go and fight on another card. Get experience. Do what you need to do. No one's telling you not to do that. but don't say, yes, I will take this fight. Yes, I want to take a title fight. Yes, I want to fight in your promotion. Yes, I want to come up here. Hey, can you get me a fight for this card? Yes, to find out that you actually the whole time were doing something else in the background. And then the promoter who's treated you very well has to find out not through you, but through another promotion. I don't think that's fair to you because it's not good for you, not good for your reputation. It's not good for the promotion. It's not good for the sport. And no one's a bad guy in this situation. Just be honest. Hey, I've got a really good offer over here, and I think it's better than the offer that I've got from you. Just be honest. It doesn't hurt anybody to be honest. And if you're honest, nobody can ever take that away from you. Some people might be unhappy, but they can never say that you didn't tell the truth. And I think the truth is more important in these situations than, some of the other behind the scene metrics that go on. So in 2024, fight where you want to fight, do what's best for your career, but just be honest and don't tell lies that then become very, very obvious because it won't help you in the future, especially if you need more fights on a particular promotion.
Well, I'll be honest, my truth right now, we know where the place to be, and that's Eternal MMA, fighting on the biggest promotion in Australia, UFC Fight Pass. We put the best fights together here. Cam O'Neill, Ben Vickers, putting on the best show in the country, and everything that we got in the pipeline. Like I said at the start of this piece, just please watch this space. I'm going to repeat that a million times on this podcast and any other podcast coming forward. Like you said, if even half of that comes together for what's coming up at the start of 2024, holy shit, are we in for something spectacular. So if you're an Eternal MMA fan, if you're a fight fan in general, if you're a fan of Australian sport, MMA and the guys that are coming up in this scene, these are the fights you want to tune in for. These are the guys that you want to tune in now and get on board with. So when they get themselves to UFC, and we know where the path to UFC is, it's here at Eternal MMA. You want to be able to say, I know those guys when. So you get to experience that. When you see these guys in UFC, I get that pleasure. When I've spoken to these guys and I see their journey, I'm not just seeing them for the first time in the UFC. You're seeing them come through. And, as fight fans, that's special. When you see them go out for the first time and you've seen them on these promotions and you get to know them and you know those stories and you see them for the first time and you feel connected to those guys. So the fact that we get this promotion on UFC Fight Pass and you've got access to that, I think you might have referenced a couple of times in the last podcast, $11 a month. So make sure you get on that. Go and watch the backlog of all these fighters. We got Stephen Erseg coming up this weekend at UFC 295. We know he's our former flyweight champion. And we know the guys that have been in the Eternal MMA promotion that are over there doing their thing right now. So, Darryl, we'll leave it there, brother. We've done our usual hour and a half. Very much looking forward to what you've got coming up as far as getting into those gyms. Please keep me informed on what's going on there and what you've got going on in that pipeline. That is very, very fascinating. Going to be some great insight into those gyms, into those fighters. The more we can learn about these guys, their stories and what they're doing, very, very fascinating. So keep us in the loop on that for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for the podcast. Thanks for the time.
My pleasure, Darryl. Thank you very much, brother.